My name is Sarah Mitchell, I'm 60, and I live in Brooklyn, New York. I'm a retired librarian, the kind of woman who alphabetizes her spice rack and triple-checks her locks at night. When my mother passed, she left me one thing worth more than money, a sapphire brooch set in white gold, passed down through 4 generations of women in our family. Appraised at $10,000, but to me, it was priceless. It once belonged to my great-grandmother, who came to America from Ireland with little more than that brooch pinned to her coat. It wasn't just jewelry, it was history, it was identity. And my Aunt Linda, Mom's younger sister, had been obsessed with it for decades. At every Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, she'd say, "Sarah, why don't you sell that old brooch? Cash it out before it gets outdated." Her tone always dripped with envy. She never hid it. Last April, I hosted a family dinner at my apartment near Prospect Park. My cousins came, my nieces, and of course, Linda. She arrived late, smelling like Chanel and credit card debt. Her boutique in Manhattan had gone bankrupt the year before, and she'd been temporarily between opportunities ever since. Over wine, she laughed too loudly, complained about taxes, and said things like, "If I had that brooch, I'd sell it in a heartbeat." After dessert, I caught her wandering into my study, where my safe was. "Oh, Sarah," she said with a forced smile. "You keep that treasure locked away in there?" Her hand brushed the safe like she was caressing opportunity. I laughed it off, but my gut said otherwise. The next morning, I opened the safe to check something, and froze. The brooch was gone. No forced entry. No broken lock. Just, gone. Only one person had been near it. Linda. I called her immediately. "Linda, did you see my brooch last night?" She gasped dramatically. "Sarah. How could you even say that? I'm family." Her tone was all performance, not surprise. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Linda's boutique hadn't failed because of bad luck, it failed because of her spending. She bought designer purses and flew to Florida like she was still rich. That brooch could easily buy her another few months of delusion. When I checked her Facebook and X accounts, she was posting cryptic things like, "Big change coming soon, gemstone winking face." It didn't take Sherlock Holmes to figure out what she meant. I wasn't going to the police, not yet. This was personal. She didn't just steal jewelry, she stole a piece of our family's legacy. And if she thought she could lie to me, a librarian who spent her life finding hidden things, she was in for the lesson of a lifetime. So I did what I do best, I made a plan. A quiet, clever plan. My friend Tom, a jeweler in downtown Brooklyn, owed me a favor. I showed him an old photo of the brooch. "Can you make a perfect copy? Doesn't need to be valuable, just convincing." He smirked. "For you? Give me 3 days." When he handed it over, I could barely tell the difference. It looked identical, except this one was worth $50. I put the fake in my safe, leaving the door slightly open. If Linda came back over, I'd give her another chance, to hang herself with her own greed. A week later, I invited her for coffee. She showed up overdressed, wearing fake pearls and a fake charm. While I took a phone call, I watched the live feed from a hidden nanny cam I'd installed near the bookshelf. Sure enough, she slipped into my study, looked around, and pocketed the fake brooch. Caught. Red-handed. But this wasn't the finale, this was just Act 1. The next morning, I called her in a shaky voice. "Linda, I think someone stole Mom's brooch." "Oh my God, Sarah, that's awful," she said sweetly. "Maybe you misplaced it?" Her fake concern made me want to laugh. Let her believe she'd gotten away with it. The longer the lie lasted, the better the confession would sound. Scrolling through my local TV guide, I noticed Good Morning Brooklyn, a community morning show that aired human interest stories. They had a call-out for locals with meaningful heirlooms. I emailed them. "I'd love to talk about my family's sapphire brooch that's been in our family for generations." They called me the next day. "This is perfect for our show," the producer said. I made sure to mention Aunt Linda. She's my late mother's sister. She'd be thrilled to share our story. I phoned Linda, pretending to be overjoyed. They want us both on the show. It'll be live. They're even bringing an appraiser to examine the brooch on camera. There was a long pause. She finally said, "Oh, that's exciting." I added casually, "Oh, and the appraiser said the brooch has a unique flaw, a tiny mark only an expert could recognize." Her silence was pure panic. Just to confirm, I called a contact at a local pawn shop on Flatbush Avenue. He remembered a blonde older lady trying to sell a sapphire brooch without papers. When they asked for documentation, she stormed out. That was all I needed. I installed a second camera, this time in my purse. When Linda visited again, she snooped through my drawers while pretending to look for sugar. Caught again, on crystal clear footage. I called her a few days later. "I'm selling the brooch after the show," I lied. "I've already got a buyer lined up in Manhattan." She smiled through the phone, trying not to sound too interested. "Oh? That's wonderful, Sarah." I could almost hear her brain calculating. The day before the taping, I met with the Good Morning Brooklyn team. I handed the producer a note. There might be a shocking twist. Please keep the cameras rolling no matter what happens. She grinned. Honey, this is television gold. On the morning of the show, the studio buzzed with excitement. Linda arrived in a designer scarf, smiling like a cat that swallowed the canary. I wore the fake brooch proudly. The host, Jenna Collins, started. Today we're meeting a Brooklyn woman with a priceless family treasure. I smiled. Yes, this brooch has survived wars, generations, and a few temptations. Jenna introduced the appraiser, my jeweler friend Tom, disguised in a suit. He examined the brooch through a magnifier. Interesting, he said slowly. This is actually a very convincing replica. Gasps filled the studio. Jenna blinked. Wait, are you saying it's fake? Tom nodded. The real one has a unique scratch on the clasp. This doesn't. I turned to Linda. Funny, Aunt Linda, didn't you see the real one last week? Linda's smile froze. I don't know what you mean, she stuttered. Tom held up a printout from the pawn shop, a photo of the same brooch. I pulled out my phone. Roll the footage. On the big studio screen, the audience watched her stealing from my safe. The gasps turned into murmurs. Then silence. This is entrapment. Linda shouted, standing up. She's lying. But the footage didn't lie. I whispered, confess now, or I show them the pawnshop receipt. Her face drained of color. I took it, she whispered. I was desperate. The audience booed. By the time I got home, the clip was already trending. #GreedyAunt hit #1 on Twitter. Comments flooded YouTube. This is better than Netflix. Don't mess with librarians, they document everything. Within hours, every local news outlet had picked it up. 2 days later, I went back on Good Morning Brooklyn for a follow-up segment. I brought the real brooch, still safe at Tom's shop. This, I said, holding it up, is what honesty looks like. The host laughed. And this, she said, pointing to me, is what justice looks like. Linda vanished from social media. Her reputation in the family was ruined. Her friends stopped inviting her to brunches. Her greed had gone national, and viral. A week later, she left a voicemail. I'm sorry, Sarah. I was broke and stupid. Please forgive me. I never called back. Some apologies are just words. Instead, I took the brooch to a museum exhibit on American heirlooms. It now sits under glass, labeled The Mitchell Sapphire, 4 generations of strength and integrity. The video hit 8 million views across TikTok and YouTube. Reaction channels dissected it, podcasts debated it. Someone even sold t-shirts that said, "Never steal from a librarian." I didn't make a dime from it, but I didn't need to. I had closure. America runs on second chances. But not everyone deserves one. Linda thought she could take advantage of kindness. Instead, she learned, on live national television, that cleverness beats greed every time. 6 months later, a small box arrived by mail. Inside was a cheap knockoff brooch and a note that said, "You win." I smiled, placed it in my desk drawer, and went back to reading. On my bookshelf, the real sapphire brooch glittered under morning light. Still mine. Still safe. And somewhere on YouTube, millions of viewers were still watching my story. A Brooklyn librarian who turned betrayal into a lesson for all of America. Never underestimate a woman with patience, proof, and a plan. Do you think Sarah went too far, or did her aunt get exactly what she deserved?